Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Today we're going to talk about something central to our modern society, the right to education and the current attack on it. But first, this is Latina Literati. Education is a fundamental universal right recognized by most nations on earth and many treaties. Here in North America, education is not only a right, but there are specific court cases and laws that guarantee that your rights under the Constitution don't stop at the school gate doors, that don't stop at the door of the school. And so let's just talk about the First Amendment. So there are 5 basic rights in the First Amendment. There's the right of assembly, the right of free press, the right of religion, the right of speech, and the right to petition your government for redress. That just means you get to tell them, hey, we want to make these changes to these policies. And right now those rights are under attack in universities, on all sorts of venues, but we're going to focus today on universities. And so what has happened over the last few months? What has happened is that the authoritarian government in North America has said, we're going to withhold funds that have already been appropriated to you universities if you don't do away with programs we don't like, if you don't stop the students from speaking about things we don't like, if you don't stop teachers from teaching the things you don't like, if you don't stop letting students in that we may disapprove of from learning at your institutions, and that we decide what should be the basis of the curriculum, what is the lessons, what is it that should be imparted in these classes. This is an affront not just to every one of us who think that education must be a right and a place where a free exchange of ideas is central to what education means, but it is also illegal. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. Why is this assault on education even being allowed when we know it is against the law? And so it's politically expedient to attack many people on many fronts, hoping that they won't be able to unite to stop the attacks. And so whether it's attacks on those whose status may not be settled, whether it's attacks on people of different communities, whether it's attacks on education, they're not going to stop until we stop them. And so when universities like Georgetown and Harvard say, we're not going to be bullied, we're not going to be blackmailed, we are going to pursue our core principles, which are diversity, which are the free flow of ideas as a cornerstone of education, and of course in Georgetown's case, following the Jesuit principles of service, as well as the ecumenical principle that we are all one, we all come together to understand that which unites us. And that's what brings about peace and harmony in community, is that unity, right? So what are the things that are being used? So you have the government withholding funds, you have specific universities capitulating. I will not name those because they don't deserve to be named. A large New York university that capitulated and still didn't get what they want. They still haven't received their funds back. So you know what we learned? That when you capitulate to a bully, all you get is more bullying. So you have to stand up to a bully and say, we will not be moved. We stand for basic principles of academic freedom. We stand for the basic principles under the First Amendment, and we will not be moved. There are cities and states that have also tried to attack universities through different legislation, the famous anti-woke things throughout the country. But those are just excuses. They're excuses to scare people. They're excuses to try and hurt people. And they're excuses to try and control. And so that's why we need to come together to just say, basta ya, stop. This just won't be allowed. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects academic freedom. And academic freedom, in a nutshell, means that students, faculty, personnel, visiting scholars, anyone within the context of a university has a right to exchange ideas, to teach, to discuss, to question, without the fear of some consequence, some negative consequence. And that's really what we're talking about here. And so throughout the country, students are rising, and they're saying, we will not be silenced. Our academic freedom is central to our education. It is central to our experience as students, and it is protected speech. It's protected under the Constitution. So these students are incredibly valiant. Many of them are being arrested, and even more horrendous is some students are being kidnapped by the government and being rendered to places unknown. Those who do have the ability and resources are able to challenge them, but we don't know how many students are leaving of their own accord because they're afraid. We don't know how many students are being literally kidnapped off the side of the street, being taken to unknown locations. Is this truly the type of community and society that we want? Is this truly the type of lack of complete rule of law that we want to live in? And I think the answer is no. So students challenge power at university level and in the government, and that is central to debate, it's central to democracy, it's central to be able to speak truth to power and to challenge those policies that are wrong. And so when we're protecting students' rights, we're protecting all our rights. So when I talk about the fact that this is protected speech under the First Amendment, it's pretty explicit, but we also have Supreme Court rulings, I'm just going to mention 3, that say exactly that. So in 1969, Tinker v. Des Moines is very clear that says First Amendment rights do not stop at the schoolhouse gate. In other words, the First Amendment rights that you have anywhere else, you have them within the context of your academic journey as a student. In Healy versus James in 1972, basically a university was not allowed to deny groups the right to assemble, the right to form, simply because their views were unpopular. And again, it doesn't matter whether you or I agree with their views. When I protect someone else's freedom, then mine is also protected. And so that mutual protection is central to the rights that are enshrined in the amendments to the Constitution. And of course, we have seen dozens of injunctions by courts in recent months saying no to universities and no to the government. You can't just oppress people because they happen to be studying. So freedom needs to exist in the classroom, in the quad, in the assembly room. It needs to be everywhere in order to be preserved. It can't just be for those that we agree with, and it can't just be under certain circumstances. The freedom to speak, the freedom to think, the freedom to assemble and to discuss is absolutely crucial and central to our foundational document, which is the U.S. Constitution and its amendments. So students really are reminding us that the First Amendment is not just a law, it's not just a something that has been handed down for generations and preserved. It's a living promise. It's a promise that we are here as free men and women to live in dignity and to be able to discuss anything, anywhere. Now, of course, there are situations you can't scream fire in a theater, you can't try and elicit violence, but you can discuss and speak and debate about things that are of interest to you. And that's really core and central to our society. So I hope that you will take a look around and see how you can support the students, because that's what we need to do. The students are us, and we are the students that are being attacked now, and we need to support them in any way we can. And now for my favorite part of the video, the book recommendations. So the first book I'm going to recommend is called Policing Higher Education. And this book talks about all the policies that have been attempted to try and limit academic freedom. So if this is a topic of interest to you, fabulous book, really recommend taking a look at Policing Higher Education, the Antidemocratic Attacks on Scholars and Why It Matters. The second book is called simply Academic Freedom. And so it really explores the concept of academic freedom. What does it mean? How do we exercise it? And of course, how do we protect it? So another book that if this is of interest to you, really recommend it. And always check your local library, check your local bookseller, because we want to support our local libraries. We want to support our local booksellers always. And the third book, the last book I'm going to recommend is You Can't Teach That, The Battle Over University Classrooms. And as you can imagine, as the title says, it is a battle over the classrooms in universities, what can be taught, who can teach it, and who gets to decide that. And so again, this is a third book that is very pertinent to the debate that is going on today, whether or not the government should even opine, whether they should have anything to do with what is taught and who teaches it and who learns at universities. So it's an important topic, and I hope that we've been able to share some new ideas with you. Thank you so much for this joint journey and for being a part of this community. We are very appreciative of your input. If you have any ideas, if you have books you'd like to share or recommend, we'd love to hear that. And also, what would you like us to talk about? Because we're happy to explore different topics as well. So thank you so much, and as always, con mucho cariño, mucho salud, mucho amor. Gracias.